So I missed the past couple of weeks for reviews for Garo Vanishing Line, but what an episode to jump back into the reviews, because this is definitely one of the top Garo episodes. Episode 17 with the impactful death was definitely my favorite episode of the series, but this episode is extremely enjoyable, and the only main thing I want to talk about is the relationship between Sophie and her brother, and just the idea of the virtual El Dorado and what it presented to us, and just the characters in this world. What I think is the strongest point to this episode is how it presents this virtual paradise, this Utopia El Dorado, and just how much bullshit, but also how much convincing bullshit it presents to not only just the characters in the series, but also us, the viewer. Watching this episode, even though I know it was a horror feeding ground, there were so many times where even I was like, you know, maybe this Utopia isn't so bad. Yeah, the horrors kind of feed on you, but look at how happy everything is. And that's what I really like with this world, is because of how fake it is, but how convincing it is. It makes this fakeness seem like a reality, something that people are truly living in this virtual paradise, when in actuality, they have been dead for many, many years here. And I absolutely love what the idea of the king was, because I think everyone knew that the king of El Dorado was going to be Sophie's brother, or something to that nature. I mean, there's just, why else would the king of El Dorado want this girl so bad? But what I didn't really see anyone speculate, not even myself here, is the idea that the king of El Dorado would be a horror on the outside, but in the virtual world would be his normal self, because I think it's guaranteed that's what it is, because Sophie does notice that his shadow definitely looks like a horror, and the fact of the matter is once you're a horror, you can't come back, and that's why she's going to try to kill her own brother. So it's kind of interesting. I mean, the whole idea that basically he's been lied to this entire time to complete this virtual paradise. He kept getting letters from Sophie. He thought he was only gone for 6 months, when in actuality he was gone for 3 years. The fact of the matter is, this is the perfect plan for horrors. You want to kill all the humans in this world? Let's make a virtual paradise that everyone wants to go to, where ultimately we just take their bodies and we throw their souls into this world. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant, and this is why El Dorado was such an interesting idea, because I was a little iffy on it. Like, once we started seeing El Dorado, just this city, it was a little kind of like, what's the point? But seeing the virtual side and the plan and how it's being executed, I have to say El Dorado definitely lives up to the hype I feel like it was building up to. And just the idea of Sophie this entire episode not buying into the bullshit, not buying into her brother, and also just seeing how she can understand that her brother is being manipulated, it was absolutely interesting to watch. I think when Garo really hits it out of the park, it can really hit it out of the park. Not every episode is amazing. The past couple episodes, I honestly don't think were anything that jaw-dropping. But this episode, episode 17, episodes like this, where it just really tries to either pull on your heartstrings or it really kind of ties up what it was building up to in a really elegant way, it really knows what it's doing here. It really makes the viewer, at least in my opinion, buy into the fakeness at times. Even though we know this is a bullshit world, I truly just bought into the idea that maybe this El Dorado place isn't so bad, because in my personal opinion, if I had the option to go to a virtual world where I believe I can have all my senses and it just seems like a paradise, I would be okay with it. But when you have the horror element added, that's when you kind of have to shy away from it. And this was just an interesting episode for that. I really like the idea of how they visually represented it. It definitely felt like a technical world. It just definitely gave you the impression that this could pass as a real world, but then when you start seeing all the kind of clumsiness and just when the horror elements start coming back into play, that's when you kind of get pulled away, and you can agree that Sophie maybe does need to choke her brother and take him out. But I just like the idea, because I'm really interested to see what her brother looks like on the outside, where he's being kept, and ultimately what's going to happen then. Because I thought when Sophie met her brother, it would just be face to face, she's looking at a horror, and her brother's all evil and twisted and things like that, and doesn't think what he's doing is wrong. But I like even more seeing the idea that his virtual self doesn't know what he's doing, but then on the outside is probably a sick and twisted horror. That's absolutely incredible, in a twist that I didn't see coming, and props to Garo for doing that. Seriously, Garo Vanishing Line has been a very fun ride these 20 weeks. Not every episode is amazing or jaw-dropping, but damn, when they hit it out of the park, they definitely hit it out of the park. I don't know if I'll do next week's review, because it definitely feels like now that we're coming closer to the end of the series, I'm having less to say, but if each episode can carry on the last 4 episodes like this quality, definitely will have reviews for all of them. But let me know your thoughts. What did you think of this episode of Garo Vanishing Line, and what was your favorite moment? Let me know down in that comment section below. And before you leave, smack that like button, share your support. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.